But anyways, we were talking about, so the New South Wales government is building a gas plant, which is supposed to be the Liberal Party's gas-based recovery. So basically what's happening is that there's a whole lot of stuff happening, but one of the main coal-based power plants that supplies most of the electricity to New South Wales is going to close down because of market forces or whatever. And the way, so people, the Liberal Party is saying that the way we compensate that electricity is by setting up another gas plant. And they're saying that because the coal plant owners are saying that's the best way to do it. And they also want a cushion to their blow. Basically, once they lose all their money from coal, they need some kind of money. So it's basically welfare for fossil fuel producers. And we are paying about $70 million for this gas plant. It's all taxpayer funded. Not a single penny is being... actually, some money is being put in by private companies as well, but mostly it's public funded. Now, the other thing that's happening is that because there's a... let's just say the market forces are such that there's a perception that coal plants are going to go down, are going to close down. Hence, every coal plant owner is pumping in a lot of money to keep it open because they're expecting other coal plants to go down. And once they go down, there's going to be a high demand and then they'll be able to supply it. So no coal plant is actually closing down except for people assuming that it will close down. But meanwhile, in order to beat one fossil fuel producing power plant, we're setting up another one, which is the gas-based plant. Every environmentalist is saying that is a stupid idea. We should move to renewable wind energy, solar energy based power. But the Liberal Party is saying that that's not reliable because of blackouts. And again, every other expert is saying that that's not true. What you really need is for every state in Australia to be able to supply electricity when there's one state that's in a deficit. And also, the assumption that we're not able to store power is based on technology from 5 years ago, because battery technology has gotten a lot better and we're able to store a lot more energy than we were before.
And we could have stored it 5 years ago as well.
We could have supplied renewable energy 5 years ago, but the thing was, they always use the South Australia example where, you know how like a few years ago, South Australia had a few blackouts and then Elon Musk...
Yes, but that is a myth that they invented, like they're good with the economy. The reason there was blackouts in South Australia is because of a unprecedented heat wave that caused all of the old coal plants to shut down. So the things that were causing climate change were the first victims of climate change, and the things that got them back online were the Tesla batteries.
And yeah, and I suppose it's even true then. But the other thing is, like, it's also because our all our energy grids is really sovereign. Like, each state is just kind of doing its own thing. We should be able to supply energy to deficit areas, because with renewables...
And South Australia has been supplying those energy deficits to Queensland and New South Wales, who still have the most amount of coal.
Yeah.
And it is because coal is less reliable than renewables.
Yes. And the other controversy is that the way the gas plant owners are pitching it is that we will be able to convert these power plants into gas as well as clean hydrogen. But what they are not telling you, or what's in finer details, is that's only 5%. So 95% of it would be gas and 5% of it would be clean hydrogen. And a lot of people are saying that even that analysis of the 5% is a bit faulty. It's really technical.
Why do they bother with the 5%?
Well, just as a way to convince dummies like us, being like, oh yeah, you should give us $80 million because it's pseudo renewable. So it's just a marketing tactic. And it's been recognized as that too. But essentially, what's at the bottom of it, what's really happening is, behind the nitty-gritties, people that were making a lot of money from supplying electricity to Australia through coal are worried that they're not going to be able to make as much money. So they're asking the Liberal government to basically give them a bailout, give them like a welfare scheme. A welfare scheme is transition us to gas, even though that's still fossil fuel. You'll be able to sell it to the public, and that way we will continue to fund you. Essentially, that's what's happening here. Because there is no reason in 2021 to move from coal to gas when you've got plenty of technology and the ability to be able to make it completely renewable.
So what you're saying
is... I really don't like... It's very depressing to me when you hear these things, because that investment is not going to change. And really, you can't justify it after that gets opened as well. I mean, you technically could build more renewables, but really what the Liberal Party is trying to do is make gas the transition power as opposed to renewables, to lock that in for another generation so that there are still their friends that have control over energy. And that's the only reason that they're doing it. And it's so depressing knowing that it's the end of the line when it comes to climate change. They still don't care. They are the most self-absorbed, awful people, and they're in control of the money of the public. It's a really, look, it's a small microcosm of what's happening across the country. Well, it's part of a grand vision that they have and tried to sneak through with COVID. And
what's the grand vision?
The grand vision is to do that with all coal plants. Replace them with gas.
Just so people that were making money off of coal plant keep making money off of coal plant.
Yeah.
At the back of tax dollars and with
a
degradation
source of energy that I think is 10% better than coal.
Yeah,
after the long run, especially when you put in all the other environmental factors that are involved with fracking. And the worst part of all of this is they're always using this as, we've got to get energy supply. We have way more than enough coal that is gas that is produced domestically. We are the Saudi Arabia of gas. We are the biggest exporter of gas in the world. And all of it just gets shipped over to Korea and Japan. And so we don't even have enough for domestic supply. And they changed the rules so that instead of offering it to the domestic market first, they could offer it to Korea and Japan first, and they're willing to pay 4 times the price. So they are increasing the amount of money that we are getting charged for our own coal. It should be about $4 a gigalitre or whatever it's called there. I don't know what the exact prices are. But they're charging us more than they are charging Japan and Korea to secure a domestic supply.
The other thing that I was reading about is... So this coal plant, that's the reason why all of this is happening is because of that. I can't remember the name of the coal plant, but which is closing down, which produced about 330 megawatts of electricity for New South Wales. And basically, the government is saying that once that closes down, we will have a deficit of 1,000 megawatts. Most experts are saying that that is completely an arbitrary figure. It has no basis. In fact, some independent studies are saying that the deficit would actually be somewhere between 150 to 180 megawatts. And so they're saying that there's going to be a shortfall of 1,000 megawatts, again, just to convince us to allow this gas plant to go ahead because it requires tax dollars.
You know what else? I don't know why they bother. Why do they bother coming up with a cover story? Do you think anyone would care either way?
I think some people would. I mean...
Some people would. But I don't think anybody is going to change their vote over this coal plant. So, gas plant.
I don't know. But, it seems to be important enough for them to be able to at least make stories, even if they're lies.
I suppose when you're signing off $80 million to a bad investment, you probably should come up with some cover letter.
Yeah.
Might be the best thing you do.
But it's very, very sad that we still haven't mended our ways when literally the entire world is moving towards renewables.
The shining light is, though, that I think that the Murdoch press might be right. Doesn't matter what Australia does. The thing that's really sad for us is more the economic opportunity that the Liberals are again squandering. They squandered superannuation under Keating's plan. They squandered the mining boom. they're now squandering the green tech revolution that we are poised to take advantage of more than any other country on earth. That's what I think I'm most sad about, the fact that the budget books could be balanced.
Well, yeah, that's just, again, a sad story. But luckily, there's other countries that have bigger carbon footprints that are moving at a much faster pace than we are.
I think I talked about this on the Up Late podcast, and that's why it's called the Up Late podcast, because it's too raunchy for this one. But Kevin Rudd was negotiating between the Democrats and China. Yeah, there's a reason that you're only allowed to listen to that if you're a Patreon member. But that's true. The reason that Joe Biden came out of the gates... Yeah.
Join it now. Go on. Just helping it.
Getting used to your new shoes, aren't you?
Join now. Yeah.
The phlegm.
There's a lot of hair in my mouth too, so I don't have to.
Yeah, it's authentic.
Take it away.
The reason that Joe Biden came out of the gates galloping is because Kevin Rudd was acting as a mediator between China and the US in getting them to negotiate the scenario that the Democrats won in 2020, what the US would be doing and what China would be doing. It's insane to say that the Labor Party has a worse climate policy than the Greens do. The Greens is just complete fantasy world. I'm sorry, did you set up the groundwork in Copenhagen for the Paris Accords to go ahead like Kevin Rudd did? Did you negotiate between China and the US so that they could come out with a slew of green policies that shocked the entire planet? No, what did you do again? Oh, that's right. You voted against that guy's ETS. Yeah, what a great party. Adam Ban, I'm sorry, can I just say, can you fuck off? Why do you look like someone who has one kid when they're like 40 and that kid's name is Mildred?
Jesus.
You shouldn't be allowed to be a
the head of
part
the
Here we go. That's
Yeah.
the beginning of another beef. Bruz, move over.
This has
You're
been
yesterday's news.
Racy pod.
Having said that, buy the shirts that Jordan's wearing. At
Available at
friendlyjordan.com.
friendlyjordies.com.